Hi everybody, welcome back to Venus on the Half Shell. This is Chef Gigi. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're using phyllo dough to make a vegetable strudel. You can also use it for sweet strudel. Phyllo dough is used throughout the Middle East and Turkey, Greece for a variety of different dishes such as spanakopita and baklava. But it's also a good substitute for a strudel dough. And so when you open the package, you want to pull the dough out and lay it flat. Cover it with a damp cloth while you're working. In addition, have all the mise en place, which is all the prep that you need. So I have fresh breadcrumbs here. I have some cardamom seeds, some cumin seeds that I'm going to use. I have my filling down here, and I have my mixture of clarified oil and clarified oil. I have clarified butter and oil. And I did clarified butter yesterday, so I can add a link to that on this video. But the purpose of a clarified butter is to remove the impurities, and it will allow you to use that butter for two purposes. You can heat it to a higher temperature and the butter won't burn. And also you're going to get that lovely butter flavor. And so that's why people use it. And it's also called ghee in Indian cooking. So I want to work, and then it's really just, and so I want to brush every layer, every 2 to 3 layers with this. And then it's going to be a quick, I'm going to make a couple of smaller vegetable strudels because I want to, and I only have so much filling. I was also saying yesterday that I could make samosas from this, which is a small little Indian generally vegetable, but meat too, little parcel, a triangular generally parcel. So I'm going to take 2 and 3 pieces. This is very, very thin. It's like transparently thin, which strudel dough, if you make from scratch, should be that thin as well. Those of you from California, or burritos are really an American invention. I know friends from Mexico, they say a burrito is actually very, very small. It's an American invention, but basically you're wrapping it like a burrito. So you're going to wrap over both sides. Don't overfill. It's a temptation to want to overfill, but don't. Because this is very thin pastry dough again, and it will, and then just keep brushing. So because the pastry is so thin, you really are going to be able, and I can put a few seeds. You can you're going to end up with maybe like 6 to 8 sheets of pastry because it's super thin. This direction, I'm going in the opposite direction, as you can see, and it's just going to reinforce the solidity that. I'm also using some fresh breadcrumbs. When I do strudel, apple strudel, I use cake crumbs. Now, strudel dough is actually basically the same ingredients as a phyllo dough, but generally done with a warm milk. And you let it rest, and butter. So there you go. This is your strudel. Your vegetable strudel. And this is really good. I used to do it on the restaurant at Treasure Island Job Corps, both as a vegetarian option or as a side. So caramelized onions inside, anything, of course, anything you want. And I would freeze them ahead of time. You know, we ran a restaurant for up to 200 people. So I would, the students, we would prepare them ahead of time. And this is also key. When you go to store your product, whether it's baklava, whether it's a spanakopita, which is generally done in a large baking dish and cut, because this pastry is very thin and flaky once it's baked, you want to actually score it. And the score in culinary arts is going to mean like cutting through without cutting through completely. So it's a marker. I like to do my strudel on the bias, BIAS, which is not a straight cut. Okay, so it's going to give it kind of an oblong shape. So I have 2 end pieces. I'm going to get 4 out of that. And I can lift it over. You can see it's scored. And so that once it's baked, I can go back and it's going to be much easier to cut. If I'm doing, you can see, this is sort of interesting. It's already drying out. It's already drying out. So you also don't have to worry almost that you're using too much fat with this, because remember that as opposed to something like a pâte sucrée or a pâte brisée, which is used for savory pastries, there is no fat in the dough itself. And so, and you can start out with breadcrumbs. I think the first layer on the last one, I didn't do breadcrumbs, but that's okay. What the breadcrumbs are doing, or the cake crumbs for a sweet strudel, what they are doing, because everything has a purpose, is they're actually just a little bit allowing layers of air within these very thin layers of strudel or phyllo dough. And so they are adding more texture ultimately. You want to bake these at 375 to 400 until they're golden brown. So I'll bake one and post again. And you can tell they might be like 35 to 40 minutes. So recipes are giving guidelines. That's one thing I really used to teach. And it's good, especially for a home cook, to get used to looking at recipes. By the way, when you read a recipe, read the whole thing through. That is a major mistake that people make who aren't chefs or who are just starting out, it's not understanding the whole composition. So read a whole recipe through if you've never done it before, so that you understand all the things, like the temperature, what pans you're going to want, all of the ingredients, the timetable kind of thing of the recipe. But anyway, and always preheat your oven before you start. Okay, phone. So anyway, happy cooking. I'm going to end this now, but and I'll show you a finished strudel. But this works really well. It's really delicious as a strudel dough, a samosa. So try out phyllo. It's sold everywhere these days, and it's really versatile. It works with a lot of different dishes and products, both sweet and savory. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really